Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have a recipe for the most delicious chocolatey, fudgy brownies, and there's no flour in them, but there is butternut squash. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in and make yourselves comfortable. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen on this channel, so if you like cooking videos, make sure you hit subscribe. So I don't know if it's hit your sort of algorithm in the various videos and things that you watch online, but for me, I am constantly getting videos about like making desserts out of things that are not traditionally dessert-y. And like a month ago, I made a video trying these chickpea chocolate chip cookies. I will leave a link to it down below. And I was amazed at how well they worked. And it's because I've been getting all these videos of people like putting squash in weird places and it being good, and chickpeas and beans and like all sorts of stuff. And it turns out that it's totally a vibe. And I had previously tried the squash brownie recipe and it was so tasty. A few little tweaks to make it my own, obviously. And I was talking about it in that video, and plenty of you said you would like to see the squash brownie recipe. And as I promised, the next time I made them, I would include you, so I'm making some today. So I thought I would share the recipe. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. So let's get started with our butternut squash brownies. I will leave the full recipe down below, but you are going to need some squash, baking soda, maple syrup, peanut butter, or almond butter, or sun butter, whatever kind of nut-like butter you got. We also have some cocoa powder, some salt, vanilla, butter, eggs, and guys, I know these are quail eggs, not chicken eggs. You're gonna need 2 chicken eggs, or if you're using quail eggs for some reason, 8 quail eggs. I raise quail, so that's why I use quail eggs, but the recipe down below will include chicken eggs. And then some optional, but definitely makes it better, chocolate chips. All right, when it comes to the butternut squash, it's kind of a tough thing to cut up. If this is something that you're unable to do, I would definitely look for butternut squash that's frozen, or you could substitute a can of pumpkin. That would work totally fine as well. This is from my garden last season, so I kind of have to use it. And if you want your squash to be soft quickly, you're gonna wanna completely peel this and cut it up into tiny cubes and throw it in boiling water. That's only gonna take a couple minutes for it to get soft. However, I have the time today. I would rather put this in the oven, and doing it that way is going to take way more time, but it's gonna take way less effort on my hands because I'm not gonna have to cut everything. This is the most cutting I'm gonna have to do for the oven because it's gonna roast low and slow, and then I'm gonna just be able to scoop this right out and I don't have to worry about the skin. So depending on how quickly you want this done, that's up to you. I would rather it take a longer time and not have to deal with peeling this entire squash. Of course, we're gonna wanna get all the seeds out of there. So we only actually need 1 cup of squash puree, so this large squash is going to definitely be plenty for us. And then I'm just gonna stick it on this baking sheet. I'm not gonna put like salt, pepper, olive oil like I normally would because we're making brownies. But I'm just gonna throw it like face side down because I don't want it to get too like crispy. And we're gonna put this in the oven. All right, so my oven is preheated at 350 and I'm gonna throw these in for about 45 minutes. There we go. You'll know they're ready if you can just easily stick a fork in it. You want them to be super duper soft. And I'm going to just let them sit here and cool down before we proceed because, like I said, time's not an issue for me today. And I don't want to burn my hands. So we're going to let them sit here and cool down. All right, our squash is cool enough for me to handle. And now we're going to mix up our brownies. And like I said earlier, we only need 1 cup, which I think I'll probably have some left over, which is fine. And honestly, I think it's definitely worth the extra time this took because this is so easy. It just slides right out of there. And there we go. 1 cup of squash. Next, we're gonna add our eggs. But I like to do my quail eggs in a separate container because sometimes you get some shells in there and it's just easier to do it that way. I have actually gotten like a lot of questions about the quail. So I think because we have some that are about to hatch right now, I think I'm gonna make just a little video, like just maybe like a little tour of how we keep our quail and just some like fun quail facts. Not like a full tutorial because like, I know it's a little too niche, but if you guys are curious about the whole quail situation, I will be making a video soon when all of our babies hatch. All right, so our 8 quail eggs or 2 chicken eggs. I also have 2 tablespoons of soft butter. Next, we're adding our peanut butter, and we're gonna need 1 cup of peanut butter. Next, we have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now for our sweetener, we're using maple syrup. You could also use honey though if you wanted to, or you could use, I don't know, corn syrup. You could probably just use sugar as well if you needed to, if you wanted to. I really love the way that the maple works with all these flavors. It just adds like another really great dimension. But you could swap it out if you wanted to. And I'm doing 3/4 of a cup, which is kind of a hefty amount. I know maple syrup isn't cheap, although this is from Aldi and it was like $5. It wasn't that expensive. I'm gonna go ahead and give all of our wet ingredients a little mix here. I also find if your squash is a little chunky, you can use a potato masher. I might actually just do that. There we go. It just helps combine things a little faster. All right. Everything is nice and dispersed. Now for our dry ingredients, we're gonna do 1/2 cup of baking cocoa powder. And this is unsweetened. There we go. We're also using a teaspoon of baking soda. You cannot skip this. It will not turn into a brownie if you don't have this. I've actually experimented and it turned out more like fudge. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't a brownie. And finally, just a pinch of salt. And our final ingredient, we have some semi-sweet chocolate chips. And I'm gonna measure these with my heart. But I'll say I probably put a whole cup in there, I'm not gonna lie. All right, ready to bake. All right, I'm baking with an 8x8 glass pan because I want nice, thick brownies. I'm hitting it with a little cooking spray. I know, this is a controversial ingredient. If you don't wanna use cooking spray, don't use cooking spray. It's fine, do what you wanna do. That's just what I wanna do. All right. There we go. Ready for the oven. All right, so I have my oven preheated to 350. These are gonna take about 45 minutes, pretty much the same as like a boxed brownie mix would. Keep in mind that if you didn't do an 8x8, if you're doing like a 9x13, like something much bigger and shallower, that it's gonna take less time. So make sure you keep an eye on it. But if you're doing an 8x8, it's gonna be about 45 minutes. It is so chocolatey smelling in here. Yay! The hardest part is having to let these cool for a little while. Now you could stick a toothpick in there just to double check, but I have done this before in my oven, so I know that they're done. They're good to go. All right, they are still a little warm, but guys, I can't help myself, okay? I wanna have a little espresso, and I need to have my little sweet treat with my espresso. Wow, I did not measure these very well. Okay, it's fine. Look at how delicious the inside of this brownie is. It's nice and soft, just fudgy enough. The sort of like stodgy, fudgy sort of texture is coming from that squash. Honestly, you guys, look how pretty these brownies are. You would not look at them and think that they were made of squash. But obviously, the taste test is the most important part. are kind of hot. Guys, I am such a fan of these brownies. They are nice and chocolatey. I think the chocolate chips really like take it to the next level. If you're expecting like a box style brownie, these are not as sweet, but you could up the sweetness if you wanted to. In the past, I've added a couple tablespoons of brown sugar, which really goes a long way. You could also put like whipped cream on top or a frosting on top if you wanted to up the sweetness. This is perfect for me and for my children, because both of my children, and if you're watching and you know me, you've been watching a long time, both of my children, even the oldest, he will eat these. So there you go, squash brownies. I know, a short and sweet one today, but I really wanted to share this recipe with you, especially because right now I'm starting to get everything ready to plant in the garden. And if you are someone with even a little bit of space to plant something, planting butternut squash is a great idea, because even if you don't like love to eat like a squash on its own, there are lots of ways to cook and bake with squash. I love making soup and all sorts of things. Anywhere where you can use pumpkin, you can kind of use a squash and it works just the same. So hopefully I've inspired you to give something a try here. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things that help us grow over here on our little corner of the internet. I will leave all the instructions and the full recipe in the description down below so you can try these out yourself. And I'm curious to know what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye!